Here we are live on a school night with a brand new guest to the show. Scott, welcome to Mr. C Dives In.
Hey, Mr. C, thank you so much for inviting me. I've been looking forward to this pretty much for about a week now. I needed a little help getting to sleep last night. I was excited to come on and talk some Sven with you. So thank you really a lot for having me on.
I'm right there with you, and let me say, we as I frequently reference Reddit and the subreddit group for Svengoolie, as I'm always inviting people to stop by or hang out or drop a comment or formally join the subreddit. That's how we got connected here. Let's jump to comments, and then we'll dive in, jump in, dive in, jumping and diving.
Fair enough.
So Junkyard is pulling the Captain Lou Albano classic line. Junkyard is always changing his imagery. We got the crawling eye now with Junkyard.
Cool.
What's the number? I want the number. Let me call the number. And now we hear from Campbell's Corner, Jim Campbell, sometimes claiming a title of Boo Berry, but tonight going with a Yabba Dabba Doo. All right, lads, thanks for watching. Okay, here we go, diving straight in. So Scott, tell us, please. So far so good. How did you first learn of the show and the character of Svengoolie?
So I'm a bit of a later addition to the Sven universe, if you will. I learned about the show about 8 or so years ago. It was a summer Saturday night, and a good friend of mine, he's since passed away, unfortunately, but he knew I liked Godzilla and the Godzilla movies. So he sent me a text message. He said, hey, on this channel, there's a Godzilla movie playing. So I put it on and I was checking it out. And then, at the commercial break, Sven comes on and, does his spiel, I call them like the dad jokes, the kind of the one-liners. I was like, this is pretty cool. I like this. And I watched the whole rest of the episode. And I was like, this is really neat. So I hit my DVR button, to see. So it wasn't just a one-off. I saw, Svengoolie, it says it's on every week. Well, I'm recording that bad boy. And it's been, really appointment watching for me ever since. If I can't watch it live, because being a family man, Saturday night, sometimes you're out and about, I'll watch it the next morning, or while I'm working from home on Mondays, maybe, I'll have it on in the background. And I watched it that way for probably a few years. I want to say about 2022 or so. There was a decision. I'm in the Providence area, and they dropped MeTV. So I was like, great, what do I do now? So I was kind of looking around, and I found the Friendly TV app. So I watched Sven on there. And I was lucky that last year, my market realized the error of its ways and brought MeTV back, and with it, Svengoolie. And I was so excited, like I was tweeting it. I'm like, this is awesome. Like I don't have to pay anymore. I can just comes with my package. It was fantastic. So I've been back watching it on the terrestrial TV ever since. And that's kind of my story.
It's a great story. The availability of Sven arc, if you will, that you just told ended on a positive, but I would say then it replicated the local history here. So going back to the late 70s when Son of Svengoolie started, and then from local to Chicago and Berwyn, WFLD TV 32, the management at that time decided to cancel the Son of Svengoolie show. So then again, there was a show, it went away, it found its way back. So I would say that was a similar recurring pattern by me and by you across the different years. Okay, so maybe you've already alluded to this a little bit. Godzilla was your entry point. What kept you coming back to view the show again?
Oh, well, there's a few things. I guess just coming right off the top of my mind, Mr. C, is nostalgia, right? So what we used to have in the Boston market, and I don't know if it's the same out where you are, we had, it was Channel 56. They had a creature double feature. Saturday afternoon, you'd have 2 movies back to back. They'd be like the Universal Monster movies, or, American Werewolf in London, which I think Sven is having this coming Saturday, actually.
Yes.
And as an elementary school kid, like you would look forward to it so much. I'd either watch it at my house, or, if my parents wanted to watch something else, like a ball game or what have you, I'd have to go to my buddy's house. Because keep in mind, for old timers like us, right? We didn't have, the computer to consume things on, and this to consume media on and 4 or 5 TVs in the house. There was one TV, and if mom and dad wanted to watch something else, that was just the way it was, so that nostalgia to see those again. And to me, the other thing, like the in close look at some of the actors, because Sven always in the first half hour or so, he starts talking about the guests, and he's like, Vincent Price, he was in this and that, and he got his start here or there. And being a bit of a geek, like I'll look these actors up on Wikipedia as well and just kind of see the other stuff that they did.
Yeah.
It's a combination, and there's just movies that I haven't seen before, or maybe haven't seen in a long time. It just brings back the memories, and it's fun, right? I mean, we all we work all week. You're worried about your bills. You're worried about what might be coming next, or whatever those worries might be, and you've got time to sit down for a couple hours, whether you're watching it live on a Saturday or at some point during the week, and just watch a movie and just have some laughs. And I think it's good for the soul.
Good for the soul. A perfect way to say it. A little family-friendly escapism.
Yep.
So let's go now to Junkyard's next comment. And it's got, do you want to agree or disagree with Junkyard? Do you want to argue or
no, 100%.
Junkyard says here, Godzilla is the king of the monsters.
100%. No King Ghidorah for me.
Well played, sir. Well played.
Once in a while, I have a good one.
Do you have within the show a favorite segment? So you've already referenced enjoying Sven talking, giving the information, talking stories about the background of the actors, of the characters. He slides in the Perry Mason reference. Is that your main thing, or would you rate that equal to the male segment or the song parodies? Is there any element of the show that speaks to you more than the others, or is it one is just as good as the other? Is it like a variety flavor in a dozen donut pack?
I like when he kind of does like the charades, he's kind of writing out that one is pretty cool. I do like the mailbag because it's neat to see people wearing their gear somewhere else, or just the different parts of the country where people have learned about Svengoolie. So I think that's pretty cool. Honestly, I like the segment at the end too, with the one-liners when I'm about to close the show and the doorbell rings, and it's always just like in my Masonic lodge, I'm known as king of the dad jokes, but these put me to shame. Like if I was like 3 times as smart as maybe I think I am, I'd be able to do some of these, but they're like chef's kiss.
Man, true what you say. And again, Junkyard is here agreeing with you about the wonderful trivia that Sven adds to the movies.
Great minds think alike. So
if I brought the hotline phone down here, I would have Junkyard call in on the hotline, but the hotline phone is upstairs, so we won't go with that. But it's just cool to be in agreement with other fans in the fan community. Okay, so that was on the segments. Now, Chi-Star G is joining us with a let's go. We're stacking more guests into the comment section. It's a beautiful thing. Chi-Star G and I just had a ball of a time at the comic convention at C2E2. But sticking to the main focus here, we have now. So we spoke on the segments. Now, as far as the other characters, and I'm not yet speaking of the Sven Squad. My question outline predates the existence of the Sven Squad. But I'm talking we're talking the male segment with Kerwin. Then you got your buddy Sorella talking Coffin. Then you got your old school Tombstone. Do you favor one of those non-human supporting cast characters more than another, or what's your experience? What's your interaction with the puppet type characters?
On those, I tend to kind of like them all. To be honest with you, I mean, it'd be hard to to pick a favorite out of them, but I think that they all bring something a little bit unique. So it's kind of like it's like picking which kid is your favorite. You can't really tell.
That's an absolutely Sophie's choice way to say it, and I again appreciate your phraseology. And it's no secret around here. I'm a Tombstone guy, but no disrespect to Kerwin and no disrespect to Buddy Sorrell, as I often do. It's just I had Liam MG, who was one of the comic artists doing the pages on the Imp. I had him do a commission of Tombstone, but I'll have to bring that up to camera a different time, a different place. All right, so we're talking now movie. Is there a singular favorite movie that you have, or is it not a singular one? But do you like a certain style of movie better than another?
Honestly, I like the old school horror movies. I mean, I'm at the risk of sounding cliche, like the original Dracula. There's just something about it, with Bela Lugosi and just opening up this whole new world. That's one of my favorites. The Frankenstein movies usually jump out to me, and just something about the movie being black and white. Just harkens back to a different time, and I think just the elegance of a lot of the actors and the actresses. I think they speak to me because it's a much different style than what's put out today. But being a horror movie fan, I'll watch the ones like Terrifier and Hostel and all of those. But let's be honest, I mean, that's a lot of blood and gore on the screen, and you don't really get that with those original movies so much. The horror is more psychological to me, and that's kind of what really brings it out. So for me, it's the older the black and white movies, definitely leading off with Dracula though.
And then, is it fair to conclude, based on your earlier comments, that it's kind of almost a gold and a silver there between the Japanese produced, the Toho, the Kaiju,
Yep.
the Godzilla films?
Yeah, because those are just a lot of fun too. And I mean, we look at it now in 2026, and we see the effects, and we're like, oh my god, But at the time, like that was cutting edge, and it's just so cool.
Agree. Totally cool. If those are, so to speak, your gold and your silver medal recipients, then if it exists for you, the bronze or the third category or the third quality, would that be more on the horror comedies for you? Would that be more on the Hammer Studios, the British interpretation of those Universal classics? What possibly would slot in for the third spot as far as your enjoyment goes?
I'm thinking I would go with the Hammer films in that case. I mean, there's something to be said for Christopher Lee too, right? And Peter Cushing, and one of the first movies that I remember seeing in the way back machine, just kind of going off a little bit, the original Star Wars. I saw it at a drive-in with my parents in the back of like a pickup truck, and so when I watch the movie now, of course I tell my kids, I saw this movie that drive in the back of a pickup truck, and they look at me like I have 9 heads. But to see Peter Cushing, and then you've seen him, so that's when I was first introduced to him, and then you see him in these other roles in the Hammer movie family of movies. It's kind of cool again, just seeing these actors in these different roles.
And now to misquote or to twist around the early Star Wars quote of the circle is now complete, then you go back and you see a Star Wars prequel with your Count Dooku, and you go back to your original Star Wars trilogy with your Grand Moff Tarkin, and then you just, when you were little, you didn't know so much, but it gives an extra layer of appreciation. Yep. I'm going to jump to comments for a little bit, and then we'll press on with the conversation. Fanboy G, I'll jump the order. Fanboy G is saying speculation out there that C2E2 might be part of why WonderCon's attendance seemed lower. Ooh, that's a battle of the regional conventions. Maybe the third coast, if you will, outflanked the left coast at that time. Junkyard is saying, and I'll pitch this one to you, Scott. I have an answer, but let me pitch the question to the guest. Any truth to Tombstone being based on Ray Johnson? You can call me Ray, but don't call me that.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was some truth to that. Yeah.
So short story, I agree. And then see, the thing, Chai-Star, is that Fan Expo, formerly known as Wizard World, for whatever their sensibilities are, it doesn't occur to them to reach out to Svengoolie and book him. So again, credit to the C2E2 people coming back to Fanboy Cantina saying everybody loves Sven. Am I right? And again, if this is being listened to without being seen, the way Fanboy is spelling "am I right" is AMIRITE, all one word. Good show. All right. So we covered the studios. We covered the supporting characters. Okay. So now let's take your Doug Graves on the keyboard. Let's take your Anita Exorcist on the well, she's playing other instruments, not the keyboard.
Yeah.
And your current area, your Svengoolie squad, what parts of the musical accompaniment, and then what parts of the newer era Sven squad float your boat or make you enjoy the show?
Well, for me, I like it when Sven does the song spoof with Doug. It's just you're not sure what angle he's going to take with it sometimes. Especially if it's a segment that you haven't seen before. But those are usually pretty enjoyable. And with the new Sven squad, I just like I like the way they play off of each other. Kind of as an ensemble. I think they've all got their different strengths, and I don't feel like they're three of the same character, if you know what I mean. So, I enjoy that part of it as well.
Again, I agree and share your sentiment. It's good stuff. Let's see now what Chai Star saying. Local con should have Chicago entertainment. Well, local, and now again, they did just recently make it out to San Diego Comic-Con. Oh, okay, so here, when Rich Coase made it to the New York, I think it was New York Comic-Con, was that something that was on your radar, Scott, or were you aware of it? Was it possible for you to attend that, or that just wasn't in the cards?
It wasn't in the cards for me to get there, just with my work schedule. If he gets to something in the Boston area, I think I'd like to check that out for sure. It would be neat for me. I really haven't been to any cons before, so just to check it out, and be around the energy would be really, really decent. And I agree with what Chai Star said. Local cons should definitely, the guy's a legend. He's right there in the area. My philosophy is, if you don't ask, you don't get. Just give them, ask them. Actually, I reached out to Rich for my radio show that I do every other week, but he was interested in doing it. We just weren't able to make a pre-record time work out. But you send an email, or you tweet at him, or what. What's the worst thing he can do? He can say no, I'm busy, or not answer. You don't ask, you don't get. So Chai Star is bang on. Just at least ask, especially if he's right in the area. I would find it hard to believe he wouldn't come by. If his schedule permitted.
All right. So as you mentioned in your radio show, I guess let's go ahead and go there now, and then we'll come back to doing some more questions. So sure. Now, as the screen says here, your last name, Rotundo, does that have a direct influence on the name of the radio show? Or is it
a little bit? Yeah. So I do a show. It's on 990wbob.com. It's an internet radio station based in the Rhode Island market. So yeah, it's called The Rotunda, and it's got a couple of meanings. So a play on my last name, which even though the only vowel is an O, gets misspelled and mispronounced more than you would believe. And also in Rhode Island, the State House Capitol, the grand room, if you will, is called the State Capitol Rotunda. So I kind of have a picture of that in the background of it. So it's kind of two things. It's calling into to Rhode Island, and it's also a play on the last name.
And for my clubhouse people over here, for my fellow Sven-ologists that haven't found a minute yet to listen to WBOB, let me say I was very into my first sample of the show, taking the position that parents at Little League games or other similar kid-friendly events shouldn't be physically attacking the other parents or the referee or the other people's kids. So as I'm driving home, listening to you make these comments, I'm like, this is a like-minded person. So that's some good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Like we were saying, I mean, they've got enough stuff to do, no matter what, they're never going to please anybody. So, and they're probably working for peanuts, if not for free. So let them, at least not have to worry about being attacked. And I saw Chai Star's question. Do I have a podcast? Yeah. www.990wbob.com. It's live Wednesdays from 8 to 9 p.m. East Coast time. and then there's past broadcasts you can find on the site.
Which is how I was listening to the bit that I just referred to.
Yeah, and if anybody listens and likes it or wants to send me hate mail or even both, ScottRotondo@yahoo.com. Remarkably unimaginative.
Remarkably unimaginative. And here we're not looking to promote character assassination, but I also listened to a more recent one and an episode where you were not present and your pals or your other co-host or your team, I don't want to say they went full character assassination, but they made it known with a little bit of a twist of how they were going to operate without you being present. So again, I enjoyed the banter of that episode as well.
Yeah, it's very much a band of brothers. We all bust each other up, but
that's how we do. That's how we do. Is we're merging together here. Absolutely. Exactly. All right. So we mentioned convention attendance. We mentioned collection. So you don't have much Sven memorabilia or Sven items, and right, everybody's got to do it their own way to participate in the community as they see fit. Do you, as a younger person, were you having any monster collectibles?
I did, yeah. I was, spoiler alert, was big on the Star Wars collectibles, and I did have some, some Godzillas, and that sort of thing. But yeah. In those days, I was lucky. My parents were pretty cool, and they're both passed on now. But yeah, we definitely had a decent little collection going, and you had the, I had some Frankenstein, kind of collectibles too. It's going in the Wayback Machine there.
And it is important to revisit the Wayback Machine.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so now future forecasting. Are there any movies that you have maybe seen not on Sven, but would like for Sven or the House of Sven to host to put it in as part of their show?
It's funny you say that because there was one, but I actually saw that comment. It's funny because there was one that I wanted to see on the Svengoolie franchise. Earth Girls Are Easy, but it was actually on House of Svengoolie recently. So that was probably. And I don't know if Killer Clowns from Outer Space has been on there yet. I haven't seen it, so it may have been, and it just kind of got through the 5-hole on me. But that would be probably a cool
hockey
one.
Reference, everybody. Hockey reference.
Yep. Go. Yeah. Big Bruins fan here. So those would be two for sure. Maybe some of the I don't know, because then we kind of get into the gore and stuff. But maybe some of the sci-fi / horror ones like the Predator franchise might be cool.
Oh, yeah, that would be really something.
Yeah, maybe send one up as like a test balloon, see how it does ratings wise, and then if obviously, they'd look at it and say, hey, this thing blew up in a good way. They've got the rest of the franchise they can start to pull in. Or if it goes like a lead balloon, well, okay, we tried it. We know what not to do,
I'm going to take Junkyard's comment here and make a couple of bridges or mini bridges. So as Junkyard and I in our youth would often be riding the bus or the train, I'm always thinking, well, who's on the train car behind us, or do we know anybody that's on the train car in front of us? And now that kind of way. So now I'm stretching that to say who else is in the community, and as you said, now with the current technology, it's hang on, we got a Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That is absolutely one of the and it has been shown, but hey, I'll look forward to maybe the House of Sven people getting some mileage out of that as well.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So here we are in different time zones, right? In both being Star Wars fans and stuff, and all the other things of the pop culture. So that is just or the part of the community building or community participation I'm trying to engage with. Is just I love to hear other stories of other fans to exchange information. And so for me, this is an additional way to have the entertainment and an additional way to contribute.
Yeah. And it's so cool how, there's pluses and minuses to everything and, social media and whatnot. Well, I think one of the big pluses is it makes the world such a small place now. So, because you're right, we, from different areas of the country would probably never have crossed paths, but now through social media and through, apps and shows like this, we can do that, even I work in the Netherlands for part of the year. So there's yeah, I mean, there's people out there that, you know, you can just have a video call with them, or it just, the world's such a small place now. And I think it's really cool, you know, as a young kid, you know, liking, you know, the Monsters or whatever, when maybe everybody else was really into the Red Sox at that point, you know, you were kind of on your island, you know, where now you can you be on your island in your own area, but share that with people throughout the world. And it's amazing.
You're going to reference Monsters, which is going to lead me in. Did you prefer Monsters over Addams Family, or was it a 50-50 split for you?
Oh, the Monsters. Yeah, it was. I mean, I liked them both, but the Munsters, something about Herman Munster, you know, played by
being a
Fred
Frankenstein
Gwynne.
guy, so that would follow through.
Right? Shocker, right?
Or as Chai Star said, he came in a little late, and hey, there's never any kind of curfew. Nobody's getting a tardy slip around here. But did you attend conventions earlier? You mentioned you didn't act. It would be something you would be interested in, but hadn't. The cards didn't fall that way for you.
Correct. Yeah, it just seems like even they have a Rhode Island Comic Con here every year, and it seems like I'm either traveling for business or there's something going on, you know. But I will make it to one. I want to check it out just to feel that kind of energy.
And then I want to just jump back for a few seconds. However many total guests we've had around, I don't know the exact number, but never has anybody before said sometimes part-time they work overseas as such, Netherlands. So that, again, just getting a little individualized flavor, another little nuance.
Yeah. I'm a finance executive for my company, and we have an office in the Netherlands, so I have to go there a couple of times a year. I always joke with my wife, if I showed you a picture on my passport, you know, I don't look like a very happy guy, and the passport's always going back and forth to Amsterdam, and I'm kind of surprised sometimes that I don't get stopped for questioning, but you know,
it's good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so that's your day job, the Rotunda podcast. It's WBOB. Is it 909? Am I getting it?
990.
990. Okay, so how long have you been doing that?
Actually, I've been doing that since 2014.
Wow, that's a great. Hey, we're in 2026, man.
Yeah. I was doing it weekly. I've gone to every other week now. Just you know, got promoted at my job. Have, you know, a lot of, you know how it is, family, you know, responsibilities, work responsibilities. As we were saying, like that has to, you know, take first place. So, but yeah, I've kept it up. You know, built up a decent following. Probably somewhere near about 500 episodes now. You know, yeah. And it's a fun time. I've you know, I've had politicians on. I've had you know, at the Mandarin, I kind of look like an assassin too on mine. I'm surprised. Like when they scan it, you know, they don't just turn me around and say just go. But anyway, but so, yeah, you know, I've had comedians. I had someone call in from a movie set once, which is pretty cool. It's just it's fun. It's a labor of love, as you know.
Labor of love is the way I conceive of it and say it often. And so as we're introduced, Scott, meet the Mandarin, Mandarin, meet Scott. So I'll just briefly explain. Mandarin is probably our most frequent commenter in the comment section of all time over here, and also at the Fanboy Cantina channel. But it was not this last week, but a year ago at the C2E2 convention, because Mandarin knows what we look like, but we don't know what Mandarin looks like.
Oh.
So Mandarin stood face to face with Chai Star G and described everything completely, but somehow made the composure to not introduce himself. So he's both a man of mystery and an ultimate prankster. So Mandarin is one of our great.
I love it. That's the energy the world needs.
Yes, it is. The world needs more of the Mandarin energy. As we're, you know, bringing everything together. So coming full circle again, through Reddit, did we make the connection here to come around here and have this conversation? How did you find the Reddit community for Svengoolie? How long have you been involved in the subreddit for Svengoolie?
I've probably been involved for a couple of years. You know, my oldest daughter said I should probably get Reddit, and, you know, not knowing much about social media, I'm like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. You know, so you there's different, you know, what do you like? You can look at this, you can look at that. So, I found all the different things I wanted to check out. Star Trek, Star Wars, and it's like, oh, does Svengoolie have? Oh, yes, he does. I guess I'll get involved with that. So joined probably a couple of years ago. It's just kind of fun, even on the Saturdays. Hey, who's watching the big broadcast? So it's kind of cool to see that, kind of like as the wake up sign, if you will.
Yeah, because I try to do that early in the morning to generate a good buzz, and then even just when Hollow does the nighttime one, just even the roll call of it, you see people of all different time zones and spots, and again, it's just cool to see the web through the interweb of the community. Now, as we often have, and Chai-Star and Mandy are doing the banter.
Nice.
No, we did not. Oh, well, holla. All right. So again, Mandy, just real quick, Mandy, because Scott's our featured guest here, Mandarin. Just real quick, did you make it to the convention Sunday, Mandarin, and did you have a good time of it? And Mandarin, again, we extend to you the invitation, and you could call in the hotline. We could use a *67. We can maintain your mysterious identity, Mandarin, without giving away your real identity. But I'm pitching you that question, but Scott is our guest of honor tonight, so we're also keeping focus there. So Scott, as we're starting to wind down, any other commentary, any other thoughts, anything you're looking forward to in the future with the Sven community or the show, or any closing thoughts, any way you want to approach that question?
Well, just looking forward to doing stuff like this, meeting more like-minded people that enjoy the show and want to talk about it. I didn't log in with my my YouTube ID, but if anybody wants that, it's just, again, very simple, at Scott Rotondo 9519, and Scott Rotondo is all my social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, and all that. Just looking forward to hopefully many more years, because I know Rich is not a spring chicken either, but just hopefully he keeps doing it as long as he can, and as long as he likes it, because that's the thing. It's a labor of love for him too, and as long as he enjoys putting out that content, just to keep watching it. And if he does eventually pass the torch to the Sven gang, I would watch them as well. Again, the Mandarin, it's Scott Rotondo 9519 is my YouTube. And if you're on Facebook or whatever you want to find me, it's Scott Rotondo. On X as well, it's the same thing.
And Mandy, in quick recap, if you hadn't jumped into this comment section yet, I was flipping around trying to get a flavor for how Scott operates on his own show. And Mandy, now Mandy, watch this. He took the wild position that parents at Little League games shouldn't duke it out with the other parents. And if that needs to be supported through legislation, then Scott's on board with it. Yep. So hey, Mandy, thank you. Mandarin, that's all you are, is your aliases for days, stacks on stacks of aliases. I thank the comment section people for jumping in, including the Mandarin, including Chai-Star G, including Junkyard, including Campbell's Corner. I think I've covered everybody. Scott, this is our first conversation on the camera. I super appreciate that you came around and talked shop, talked Sven with us. I'm going to go ahead and end, and we'll put the link we'll put the descriptions to get to Scott's stuff in the comment section. Cool. I'm hitting end stream, and then Scott, stick around. Okay, sneaky. Always having a last minute comment where we're trying to close it out. Thank you for another wonderful guest. Hey,
thanks, man.
That's how it goes. All right.
Good to see you. Make it easy. You make it really easy.
As did you, sir. I'm hitting end stream. Thanks, everybody. This has been a school night romp around. Coming up soon. When's the next live stream? Nanette and I will soon break down the post C2E2 Svengoolie experience. Stay tuned for that one, and we are out.